Hi, my name is Alan Lamont. I'm sharing a message now on Freemasonry and the power of Masonry all across the earth. Regarding Freemasonry, there is two books that I would really recommend. The first is a book by Stephen Knight. It's called The Brotherhood, and the explosive sequel to that is a book called Further Secrets of the Freemasons, Inside the Brotherhood by Martin Short. And these are great books, they really, really are. In this book, Inside the Brotherhood, what Martin Short reveals is that the Corporation of London, is ruled by the liverymen. That is, there's a Masonic network that governs the Corporation of London, and there are two mayors. You have the present mayor, which is obviously Boris Johnson, who has no power. The real Lord Mayor, the other one, is actually the one that rules over the city of London, and that rules over the monarchy of Great Britain, the House of Windsor. It really does. But that itself is ruled over by the Masonic network is ruled over by the Templar, church there. On also what's known as the Temple Bar Association. You have the Inner Temple, the Middle Temple. This is the real power over Great Britain. And in these two books, what is revealed is that, the police force in Great Britain is ruled over, and I mean all chief constables, are high-level Masons, and the judges and the justice system is ruled over by Masonry, and this is what happens. And even the councils really are, the organizations that govern, towns and cities, and they really also have their own Masonic lodges. I mean, every single council has a Masonic lodge that governs that region, and so really, it's the lowest level in this New World Order power structure. Masonry is the lowest level, it really, really is. But also in these books, there is revelations that in the city of London, they're really also connected to the Venerable Order of St. John of Jerusalem, which is the Knights of Malta. So there you have it again, Vatican knighthoods overseeing the Masonic structure. And this is what happens. I mean, if you look at Freemasonry, the degrees of Masonry, the second highest degree is the Order of Malta, and above that you have the Templars. But really, people are brought into the Vatican structure, or the power structure, through Masonry. And not all, but those that are chosen are brought into the true revelation of the Jesuit power structure through the Knights of Malta and the Order of the Knights Templar, and they're the two highest degrees in Masonry. And for anyone to doubt that the Vatican rules over Masonry, I mean, all you have to do is look at the degrees. Just look at them. There's so many knighthoods. It's just filled with knighthoods, and it's something I found out quite a while ago. But regarding Freemasonry, it's a structure that covers the whole earth, and really it rules over politics. It really does, all across the earth. But it is the lowest level. But it does have tremendous power over governments. I mean, particularly I'm from Great Britain, obviously. Westminster, the House of Lords, the Earls, the Barons, the Dukes, they are all high-level Masons. And, what controls Freemasonry in Great Britain is really what's called the Grandmother Lodge, which is based in London, and the Duke of Kent at this present time is the Grand Master of that lodge, and it's from there that World Freemasonry is governed. Obviously in France you have the Grand Orient Lodge, which is powerful over that region across the earth, as in France. In Washington DC you have the Scottish Rite, and the York Rite, obviously, but primarily the Scottish Rite governs Washington DC, and all of the world leaders are actually Masons, and even Pope Benedict, is a Mason. You see him throwing Masonic hand signals all the time, knuckle fists with, all the time with Matthew Festin, who's the Grand Master of the Knights of Malta. He is also a Mason. Barack Obama, when he went to meet the Pope, you can see it on the video I've got online. He actually hides, his knuckle fist grip, with Pope Benedict, who obviously, gave the same one to Matthew Festin, and really what I'm revealing here is that all across the earth, the Masonic network it really rules over everything. It rules over politics, it rules over the police forces, it rules over the courts, it rules over the governments, it rules over the United Nations, it rules over the banking system, the political system, everything. They're all high-level Masons. And this is what really, holds this whole structure together. It really makes it operate. It really connects it all together. It's high-level Masonry. And the City of London, just to go back to that, the square mile, is run by high-level Freemasonry, and that is the financial headquarters of the New World Order. Is London, the Corporation of London. And I mean, I know personally, people who are high-level Masons who are pastors, and I've challenged them, basically rebuked them as well. But they won't come out of it, so I just dissociated myself from them. I don't want any fellowship, any connection with them. But, I mean, even on a personal level, when I was in St John's University in Durham, which is an Anglican theological university called St John's, I've shared that on one of my previous videos outside Durham Cathedral, so I won't elaborate on that much more, but just to say that many of the lecturers there in the Anglican Church at Durham, some were from Oxford, well, Cambridge, mainly from Cambridge, they openly admitted, to being Freemasons, and asked if I was on the square, and I was like, no, I'm not on the square, and the atmosphere changed at that point, and I realised, that everyone there was a high-level Mason, so it's really, an engine of destruction. It's really a Trojan horse organization. It's created and ruled over by the Jesuits to infiltrate governments, infiltrate the banking system, infiltrate, even the Protestant churches. I mean, everything all across the earth is infiltrated by high-level Masonry. That's the truth. It is the truth. And people go into the depths of Masonry to understand the degrees and the symbols, but let me tell you right now that Freemasonry, if you look at the symbols, they're Babylonian and Egyptian. And the eye there, the eye of Horus, is actually also the eye of the Jesuit general. And the G that you see, I'm talking about, the structure of Masonry. You can go on Google and type in the structure of Masonry, and you will see a chart come up, and it will have all the steps of Masonry and the degrees and so on. But at the top, on the right, you will see the eye, the all-seeing eye. What is that? It's not the great architect of the universe. It's not God, It's the Church of Jesu in Rome, and that's why the G is there. It's the Jesu, the Curia, the headquarters of the Jesuit order. And also, regarding Freemasonry, it is Luciferian. Albert Pike very, very clearly revealed that those in the lower degrees are made to think that they understand the signs and symbols and given false interpretations. But really, he also said in that statement that they must maintain the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. Where does that come from? It comes from the Jesuits. They are themselves Luciferian. That's the truth. And I mean, this pyramid, structure is in every organization across the earth. I mean, it is, isn't it? I mean, even in British intelligence or the CIA, there are those that are in the low levels of those organizations that are not initiated. It's only those at the high levels that are given illumination and understand that they are run by the Jesuit order. And this is what happens. But Masonry is really, I want to add as well before I close that the oath of Masonry is really, a Jesuit oath. It really is. It's exactly the same as the Jesuit oath, as in the sense that, if you do not obey what is revealed to you, and if you, disclose any secrets of the order, then you'll be put to death in a very, very gruesome and violent way. And that is in the Jesuit oath. It's also in, the Masonic oath. And also, just to add this, that in Freemasonry you have the skull in the ceremonies with the sword. Now, the skull is the symbol of the Jesuit general. If you look at very, very old portraits of the generals, the father generals of the Society of Jesus, they always are holding a skull. Why is that? It's because, just like Skull and Bones, the whole skull, it is really a symbol of the order of the Society of Jesus. That's what it is. And so their signs and symbols are all the way through Masonry, as well as the knighthoods, but it's really Freemasonry that is used all across the earth to, infiltrate all Protestant denominations, all governments, and I mean, obviously you might be from America, listen to me, I mean, I don't understand much of what is going on with Masonry America on a personal level, but I know personally that the police force in Great Britain is ruled by high-level Masonry. The courts, the justice system is really strong in that area, and but also in politics in Great Britain. You know, the Labour Party, the Democrats, the Conservatives, they're all run by high-level Masons. And, you know, people do overlook the Masonic structure, and it is what keeps it all together. It is what holds it all together. And but also through the Masonic structure, the Jesuits really bring people into position. They position politics. They position their politicians in politics through high-level Masonry. There are many men like Tony Blair, for instance, who was a high-level Mason, and he was, sent to the Temple Bar in London, and it's obviously from there, the Masonic Corporation of London, the Temple Bar Association, that he was then, positioned as a Knight of Malta to be, Prime Minister. And so you'll find that even Francis Hollande, there's videos on YouTube of him in Masonic services, and many of them, obviously do go to Jesuit alumni universities, but they are also, brought in through Freemasonry. This is what the Jesuits do. They rule over all organizations through high-level Masonry. And, as a Mason, you must believe in God. You can be a Buddhist, you could be a Hindu, a Sikh, but you can't be an atheist. But, really, as a Mason, they really are involved in a Babylonian, Luciferian religion that does not worship any god in particular, or the one true God. It is really Satan himself that is worshipped in the lodge, and many brothers don't know that. They are part of the brotherhood, and they are blind. That's why when you take the first step into Masonry, as in the first degree, you are, standing there with a blindfold. What does that mean? It means that you are blind. You are blind. You're in darkness. And many Masons think that they, are initiated into revelations. They're not given any revelations whatsoever. None. Only until they reach the Knights of Malta and the Knights Templar. And if they are chosen to be brought into the Jesuit network, then and only then are they really revealed the true understanding of the symbols and signs of Masonry. And they're all Jesuit symbols and signs. And okay, my name is Alan Lamont. I think it's a good place to close this. And the Masonic network, must not be overlooked, but it is the lowest level. But be in no doubt that the Masons do run all governments. They do run the banking system. They really do. And at the highest levels in the Pentagon, they're run by Masons. In the highest levels of the CIA, Israeli Mossad, British intelligence, all across the earth, the Masons govern the whole structure. They really do. And thousands of them have no idea and no understanding that they are serving the agenda of Rome. Okay, my name is Alan Lamont. Thanks for listening. And as always, all roads lead to Rome. There is revelations that in the city of London, they're really also connected to the Venerable Order of St. John of Jerusalem, which is the Knights of Malta. So there you have it again, Vatican knighthoods overseeing the Masonic structure. And this is what happens. I mean, if you look at Freemasonry, the degrees of Masonry, the second highest degree is the Order of Malta, and above that you have the Templars. But really, people are brought into the Vatican structure, or the power structure inside the Brotherhood. What Martin Short reveals is that the Corporation of London, is ruled by the liverymen. That is, there's a Masonic network that governs the Corporation of London. And there are two mayors. You have the present mayor, which is obviously Boris Johnson, who has no power. The real Lord Mayor, the other one, is actually the one that rules over the city of London. And that rules over the monarchy of Great Britain, the House of Windsor, It really does. But that itself is ruled over by as in the Masonic network is ruled over by the Templar, church there. On also what's known as the Temple Bar Association, you have the Inner Temple, the Middle Temple. This is the real power over Great Britain. And in these two books, what is revealed is that, the police force in Great Britain is ruled over, and I mean all chief constables, are high-level Masons, and the judges. Hi, my name is Alan Lamont. I'm sharing a message now on Freemasonry and the power of Masonry all across the earth. Regarding Freemasonry, there is two books that I would really recommend. The first is a book by Stephen Knight. It's called The Brotherhood, and the explosive sequel to that is a book called Further Secrets of the Freemasons, Inside the Brotherhood by Martin Short. And these are great books, they really, really are. In this book, and the justice system is ruled over by Masonry, and this is what happens. And even the councils really are, the organizations that govern, towns and cities, and they really also have their own Masonic lodges. I mean, every single council has a Masonic lodge that governs that region, and so really it's the lowest level in this New World Order power structure. Masonry is the lowest level, it really, really is. But also in these books,